Good morning and welcome back from April vacation. I'm Jake, here with my partner Jake.
Ben Collins is a 2006 graduate from Triton who now works as a news editor for Esquire magazine.
Ben was interviewed recently on MSNBC about an article he wrote describing our generation's feelings about the world of politics.
But according to a new study by USA Today, young people are pretty fed up with both parties. And our next guest writes that the first people who learn to talk to millennials like human beings will run the world. Esquire.com's news editor Ben Collins joins us now, and I loved the piece. I wanted to get you on here to talk about it. How should politicians be talking to young people?
Like people. I think like this, like we're talking right now. I'm not sure why we can't actually believe in what we believe in and not ascribe it to a particular party. And I think people are starting to understand that. And I think it's because of access to information. It's in your pocket. You don't have to necessarily agree with something even if the numbers are off anymore. You can go check it out immediately if it's wrong. And that really is, I think, the difference between this generation saying they're going to change stuff and every other generation.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that the research has been showing is that millennials are sort of more comfortable with government having a role in society, helping with poverty alleviation, etc. They're also deeply skeptical, I would say for good reason, of large corporations, of Wall Street. So you're saying that the person who will rule the world is the person who figures out how to talk to millennials like human beings. I think we may already have someone who has figured that out. Let's take a listen.
There is nobody in this country who got rich on his own. Nobody. You built a factory out there, good for you, but I want to be clear, you moved your goods to market on the roads the rest of us paid for.
So Senator Elizabeth Warren, to me, captures a lot of what millennials are concerned about. She also talks a lot about the student loan debt crisis. Wouldn't Democrats be better served in appealing to young voters if they adopted more of the Elizabeth Warren model of progressive populism?
Right. So I don't think that's far off. I think the way she speaks for the consumer, she was a consumer advocate.
Right. It's very it's very from the heart.
It's very real. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely something that needs to take place.
One of the other names for millennials is echo boomers, because in so many ways they echo or sort of mirror what the baby boomers were all about. And so much of what the baby boomers was activism and idealism. Right. And I think with the Occupy movement, you saw millennials or echo boomers start to do some of that stuff. Do you think that we're going to see more activism and more idealism from this generation?
I do. The cost of college now costs literally 500% more than it cost in 1978. 500%. And wages have risen in the same exact time, 6%. So think about that. People are graduating indebted, like owned by a bank, essentially. And then they have to go back and they have to find a way to protest in the interim. I don't know. What are you supposed to do in that situation? They're working 2 or 3 jobs, and then they're supposed to also have a political identity. And that seems impossible. So that's the difference. Is if it seems like slacktivism, if it seems like laziness that people are doing it on the internet in their free time, they're doing it by tweeting or whatever. That really is the difference, I think.
It's the idea that you have a generation that for the first time is growing up with tremendous access not only to information, but access to publish, access to share in a way that most people didn't have through most of history.
Exactly. I think that knowledge at that point, once mistruths can be cast away by literally just looking at your phone, knowledge becomes exponential.
Such interesting stuff. I'm glad you guys wrote the piece. No doubt that the next generation is going to have a huge impact on politics. They've got to figure out a way to communicate with the young people. Ben Collins, thanks so much.
Thank you.
As finals approach, Triton's art students will be spending lots of quality time in Mrs. Brett's and Mr. Andrews' classrooms, working on their final projects and portfolios.
Few of us have seen what goes into making one of those pieces from scratch. In our next segment, Janessa Doucette filmed the work of a recent Triton artist as she creates right before our very eyes.
For me, when artist is creating something novel, new, out of older things that have happened already. It's finding a new way to deal with something. It's problem solving. if anybody is going to be truly good at what they're going to do, it would be useful to them to have an artistic outlook. You know, appreciate their own creativity. So in a way, yeah, maybe not everybody might become awesome at, you know, painting and drawing, but I think it's just like, you talk to Ms. Densmore, she would say, anybody can learn to sing. You know, you might not always have the greatest voice in the world, but you can still learn to do it. I've seen people come through the art program and for 3.5 years just produce stuff that just is barely passable. And then finally something clicks towards the end and they're making this great stuff that was suddenly you wouldn't have thought it, you wouldn't have seen it coming out of that person. But for some reason they finally found their voice, and it's very exciting.
When you touch a door in the bathroom, you get sick. When you get sick, you get your teachers sick. When you get your teachers sick, you get Miss Jones as a sub. When you get Miss Jones as a sub, you sit and listen to stories.
Where do you go to get the reward? The supermarket?
When you sit and listen to one of those stories, you end up jumping off a cliff into water. When you end up jumping off a cliff into water, you get attacked by sharks. Don't get attacked by sharks. Use hand sanitizer.
Well, I need some of that after this next segment.
It's our final installment of the ever-popular
Storytime, Miss Jones.
In this week's story, Mrs. Jones tells us what she really thinks about the students at Triton.
Yo!
Hello VTV, this is Devin Anderson here with lovely Miss Jones, our favorite teacher. So, the reason you're on VTV is because the children just can't get enough of you.
I'm sure they can.
And so, I would politely like to ask, how long have you been serving as a substitute teacher here and gracing us with your presence?
I have been here since 2006. That's getting to be a long time. I'll probably be here for another 10 years, maybe, if I'm lucky.
And, do you have any stories about, Triton? Any, strange kids or strange happenings?
You mean strange beings?
No, not ghosts
Who have
and
snakes
aliens.
in their ears, or
Oh, yep,
people
all the kids
who
with snakes in their ears.
always saying they don't have any food, but they're busy choking it down, and all those people who are supposed to be working but are never working, and all the people who really do their work around here and are great kids. We see a few grumbly ones every once in a while, and we see a few who are out of line once in a while. I think everybody's wonderful here. Mm-hmm. But I should know that because I started teaching when I was 21 years old. Oh. And I taught at Gloucester High School my entire life. And I had a room at Gloucester High School which overlooked the entire ocean. It was a lovely room, so you always saw the ocean, the boats come in and out. And we did not have desks that were in circles. We had desks that were lined up that faced teacher. so everybody could look one way out the ocean. And I still have many good friends there. I never get tired of it as long as the people are good. Once in a while we have a few itchy people around here who aren't too nice. So everybody in general, 99% of the kids are wonderful around here. We have a few little bugs. We have a few little creepy crawlers around here, you know, but a few little noodles. They need to grow up. But other than that, it's wonderful. And all the teachers are wonderful. All the people are wonderful.
Thank you, Ms. Jones, for speaking with us.
Thank you, Devin.
Back to VTV.
I want this edited and cut. It's way too long. Yo!
I'm not sure why, but I feel the need to curl up in my PJs and cuddle with a furry stuffed animal during those stories.
We better sign off. I think I feel a nap coming on. See you next week, little bugs. As finals approach, Triton's art students will be spending lots of quality time in Mrs. Brett's and Mr. Andrews' classrooms.
Our generation!
Who now works as a nude...
A nude editor?
No. No.
Oh, it's for realsies, guys. Again.
A few of us have seen... Ben, shut it.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone.
Again from the beginning.
I'm not sure why, but I feel the need to curl up in my PJs and cuddle with the goods.